Ginger Prime stands with a rallying call. Pixelit faith standing strong through it all. The frame rate may falter, but hearts won't fall. Chrono rewrites what you thought you knew at all. Late to the game, but his wisdom lands clean. Skill checks are off, that's the price of a dream. Gaming kinda brings a chaos and thrill. Dropping rare loot with unshakable will. 4-day homes the line, grace under the blade. Faith like a fortress that never will fade. Scrag lights the fire with a storm in his breath. $80 flat for unfinished quests. Joy-Con still drifting, my patience long gone. But I'll queue up at midnight, you know I'll play on. Pull up a chair, the battle's begun. Legends are forged in the light of the sun. One life now saves, play it bold, take the lead. At the Gaming Roundtable where the fearless plant every seed. Reshine, riding tree. Ride now please, rise to the fire, no checkpoint in sight. One heart, one strike through the endless night.
Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome back to the Gaming Roundtable. We've got a lot to talk about. We're in the pre-show talking a little bit about how this week seems like a little bit more return to normal. We didn't have such like massive like earth-shifting kind of moves within the gaming industry, but there's been some really big things going on this week. Want to say thanks to my roundtable here. We've got Mugen back, we've got Chrono, and we got Scrag here today. We're going to be talking about No Rest for the Wicked. I kicked up a bit of an interesting kerfuffle over on X. And speaking of X, thank you, Chrono, who also reposted the stream. Now it seems like that's going to be some kind of notifications that we're going to get. And so we like to always highlight what you guys are saying and doing in the chat. So thanks if you guys enjoy the content. That like button, that subscribe button, those are free. You can absolutely check it out. We also do appreciate when you guys watch the clips and so much more. Gentlemen, I think the best place to start this week is something, and I'm very curious about Scrag's reaction because we haven't talked about this before, but Xbox is kind of walking back that price point. It looks like, and I don't know if it's a pre-order thing or if it's like, you know what, maybe we were just a little bit too greedy with their $4 trillion market cap and laying off all of these people. Maybe we can afford to release these games at 70 and not 80. Dude, what's your take?
Well, I told you so.
You thought that was going to be what happened?
Yeah, dude. Okay, all right. Think about it. Xbox 360 won that console war because why? A, Halo. B, cheaper. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying anything about anyone who buys Xbox about that point specifically, so don't get mad. But okay, listen. Making stuff more expensive for people who bought cheaper stuff is not a good idea. Because they're just gonna stop buying stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
or, and it's always been kind of my worldview that is this more of a push for Game Pass? Because I think the reports continue to show month over month Game Pass continues to grow, at least from what is reported in terms of their numbers. And so like if the prices get too high, then it's the value of what Game Pass could offer would help kind of offset that. But even RSJ fan, points out that most likely it was just disappointing pre-sale numbers at that price point. Go ahead.
That's what I said too when they were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna lower the price of what game was it? Some Bethesda-like game, the Open Worlds or something like that.
Outer Worlds.
Yeah, that one. Whenever I saw that news, I was like, "Oh, so it was too expensive and nobody pre-ordered it. So now they're going back and saying, oh, well, actually, it was too expensive. Sorry, guys, we got too greedy. Tee."
I think that's why we've got to remember and I guess remind people. I don't know, but you don't have to pre-order anything that you don't want.
In fact, you shouldn't pre-order anything at all.
You should never
ever.
pre-order ever. There is no such thing as scarcity. It's not like
like it's digital, unless it's Nintendo
or Square Enix with the Final Fantasy 11 keys. Like they have like a maximum limit that they can dole out over a period of time. To where weird. It's like, yeah, the game sold out. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Even 14. So outside of 14 and 11, with whatever the hell Square Enix is doing with their system.
It's just a reminder, like vote with your wallet actually holds weight. You know, like if you didn't like that the game was going to be $80 and you wanted it cheaper, you either canceled the pre-order or you didn't pre-order it, and that clearly resonated with, you know, the marketing and sales teams.
Yeah, Microsoft, they ain't the brand. Xbox not the same brand that it used to be to even pull it off and get away with it.
They ain't Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly. I'm about to say that. Yeah, because you look at Mario Kart, everybody complained about $80 Mario Kart, but everybody went out and bought that $80 Mario Kart and even got it bundled with the Nintendo Switch too. So they're not the same company like they used to be, and they can't get away with that. And people show that no, like you can't pull a fast one on us, and they feeling it.
Does anybody feel like we might be seeing? I'm wondering if we're going to see another Snyderverse situation when it comes to this win. And what I mean by that is that the Justice League, the Snyder cut of the Justice League, was incredible, and I am personally disappointed that the Warner Brothers execs completely destroyed the DCEU with their horrible mismanagement. So I'm all on board for the new DCU. But what we've seen from just the Snyder cut of the Justice League being released is that there's this inflated sense of power that the internet thinks it has. And so it kind of tries to kind of push on that. I do wonder if we're seeing that kind of situation.
All right, we saw it with Sonic. We saw it with Sonic. The internet bullied Sega and Paramount to fix Sonic, and now
thank goodness
they're going to release their fourth movie. That wouldn't have happened if we had got that original movie. That would.
Those movies are also phenomenal.
But go ahead. Really good.
I got all three on DVD.
I have two conspiracy theories on that particular situation. All
okay.
Right? Yes. Number one, they did it on purpose. Because they knew that people were going to see it and that they were going to think it was awful and that they were going to talk about it. That thus bringing attention to the series. Conspiracy theory number two. Well, not really conspiracy theory, just the theory. If they had left it as is, I think people still would have watched it just to see how awful it was. All right, that's all I got to say on that. Sorry.
I mean, negative attention sells, so there's that.
Now you're absolutely right about the whole bullying aspect, except for obviously like there's some times where you're like, all right, dude, like this ain't going your way. Nintendo ain't going to change.
I think they could. I think it would take a substantial amount of bullying and like
you got people like me that it's like I'm on your team.
Oh,
but
I'm part of the problem. I'm absolutely part of the problem.
Handing money
I bought
over.
Mario Kart. I bought DK. You know, they weren't cheap, and I definitely have an issue.
It is in a way like you're. I think of it like this: it's like we're trying to get a whole bunch of drug addicts to like rally against their dealer. You know, in a way, it's like, all right, guys, like if we all team up together, I know some of us are, and we got to be strong. And I know the withdrawal is going to be painful. But if we all do it, he will lower the prices.
We also have the same thing every time they call for a boycott of Call of Duty on Steam, and then the game launches and you see the sales numbers just through the roof. The player count is just a vertical line every time. So yes, there is a degree of that doesn't work, but I think it's okay to bully corporations. I 100% think, you know, if somebody's trying to get one over on us, and if that's the case here, if they're just trying to get some kind of positive attention on the game. Hey, it's not $80. You know, maybe they looked at like something like Borderlands as their competition, you know, and said, oh, well, they're doing the $70 game. Maybe we should too. Like that could have played in somewhat, but I don't know.
I think GTA is going to be the main game that's going to really push where like pricing the gaming is going to go.
That's very true.
Everybody's still waiting. Like Nintendo still shocked me when they did the $80 Mario Kart. But I covered in the video before is that the industry even admitted that they're seeing what Rockstar does with GTA 6. So however they price that, that's going to determine moving forward, like what the new pricing is going to be. So that's
they're going to get away with it too.
Definitely.
Because the people who play GTA like only play GTA, right? Like, you know.
But the game still needs to deliver, and a game that's been in development that long and has had that big of a budget, well, the expectations for that are going to be astronomical. Now, I'm not saying that they're not going to deliver, but if it comes in under where people are like, let's say they come in at $100 just to set some simple math, and people play it and they feel like this really isn't a $100 game, it's an $80 game. Like that's a little bit of that own credibility, that own, in a way, like if you think about kind of a bank of trust, right? Like every time a company makes a really good game, we deposit some trust in their system. And then every time a company makes a bad choice, like we've seen with Blizzard, that trust keeps getting withdrawn into the point where like you go into trust debt. And so with GTA, a lot of trust has been deposited in that bank. And as long as that you don't end up having a rush of withdrawals, because it won't impact GTA 6, but it could impact GTA 7, depending on how much is asked of the player, because you're like, hey, I've waited over 10 years. The expectations could be too high for GTA 6. What do you think, Mugen?
Well, GTA 6, I'm telling you right now, that's going to run for the next decade. I mean, with GTA 5 and GTA Online, that game is still running, and it makes them like boatload of money. So they've been studying and researching that, hey, people are willing to drop money on this. So whatever the schemes or whatever monetization, because I'm telling you, they're going to monetize the hell out of GTA 6. So whatever they learned
with the GTA, online, right? Because
with the online, yeah. They're going to figure out what they're going to do. They're going to learn from what they learned from GTA Online, and then they're going to improve and master it for GTA 6. Because I can tell you right now, I can imagine them adding expansion packs that adds more cities to interconnect everything. It's going to be ridiculous. And people are already talking about that. I've seen in my tweets, I made videos about they're willing to spend $120 if it was $120 to get their hands on GTA 6. So this is where it's going to set the tone for pricing with this game. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because if you thought Fortnite's monetization was bad, I don't think you've seen what Rockstar has been working on, or you have no expectation there, because those shark cards, they sell. The in-game currency makes money, and they're rarely discounted. You see almost every other game discount their premium currency in some way or form over years. I could think of a couple of times where Rockstar has actually tried to sell their, like, push their in-game currency hard, and they don't have to. People are loving GTA Online. I'm surprised they haven't tried to push a standalone GTA Online game.
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
Because that could be like the MMO version of GTA, right? Like just live servers, join in, cause mayhem.
But if they did that, they couldn't charge you more money for the same stuff next time.
Yeah, but they could easily do seasons and take the Fortnite model and run wild with it. I'm telling you,
same concept with the baseball and the football and the soccer. Same concept with those sports, but they don't do it because people show up every year and just kind of make it like their yearly contribution. As my dad says when he goes to Vegas, like, I'm just going to go donate some money. Like, it's just going to be, I'm just going out there. I'm contributing, to the economy.
Yeah, the EA execs really need my my annual Madden purchase. No.
Right. People have that. They have that kind of and now that they finally brought back the NCAA, which I like. I was like, yeah, that's the football game that I always kind of play.
Yeah, that's actually going to make them a good bit of money.
Well, but yeah, you still kind of have that yearly kind of like check. And I personally would be more interested if they went like that kind of model. Like, I think
it's just, there's got to be enough people still buying annual releases like that, right? Like, there's no way there's not. But it's crazy in this games as a service environment that we find ourselves in, where Fortnite, Warzone, and pretty much anything that's free to play is like, yeah, but you could easily spend, hundreds of dollars a quarter or a month, way more than you'd spend on just a base game, on microtransactions, and people eat it up. Like, it's just, it's mind blowing that they haven't seen enough value there, or they haven't figured out a value add to convert to that model, right?
There's something else to be said as well of not milking your audience dry. So, like for instance, I mentioned Magic last week.
Yeah.
Some news
That
came
actually
out.
those clips for your Magic stuff went pretty wide. I was like, yeah,
Oh.
we need to just show off Magic cards. That's the new podcast model.
I'm scared to look at the comments. But anyway, so the Final Fantasy Magic set made $200 million in one day.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
the previously most profitable set was Lord of the Rings, which took over 6 months to make that much money. And now they're already, like today, after this I'm going to go check it out. They're doing a pre-release for the set for next month, which is like a space themed set. They just released spoilers for a Spider-Man set, and then also are releasing spoilers for an Avatar The Last Airbender set. And it sounds like from their like financial meeting or whatever, they're like, oh, this is great, we're growing, we're doing well. And they are literally setting themselves up for failure, because I know people just personally in my little small area, they spent like over $1,000 on Final Fantasy cards, and no matter what else comes out, like they're tapped out, they're done, they're not spending any more money on Magic for at least a few months. So
yeah, burnout's real. wallet burnout.
Yeah, with video games,
see with the car stuff, like it's like one of the things that car companies are having a hard time selling is because like 5 years ago, everybody went into like astronomical amounts of debt for these cars, and it's like, and the car prices were just so huge that people are like, I would have bought a car around this time, but I'm still paying for this car that I put on an 8-year note or something like that. And it's like, yeah, of course, that was a.
Yeah,
that's why I had to sell mine and get a cheaper car, because it was so bad.
My car don't work no more.
Really?
It just decided not to turn on, and we were like, is it the battery? Had a guy come out? Nope. It just doesn't want to turn on at all. So I have to tow it at some point. I just don't have, I work remote, so it's not like there's a pressing need to go and like get it fixed, but I'm just still a little pissed at it, because no matter what, like I'm like, headgummit, you. I don't know. Do anybody feel like this? Totally non-video game related, but when your car like dies, does anybody feel the sense of betrayal?
Oh yeah. Like my car had recently went out on me like 2 months ago. Took it to the mechanic. He said, oh yeah, your engine is about to go and stuff like that. But he was telling me like to get all the work done and everything, you might as well just get a new car. I'm like,
that's usually what it comes down to.
Yeah, I'm like, God, and I'm just thinking about the money to spend. I can spend the money, but I don't want to spend the money.
Oh, dude, yeah.
So they did some work on it and say, just, you know, if anything, just ride it until it just doesn't want to work anymore. So while I'm doing that right now, while I'm car, you know, looking around for car shopping and stuff, my dad's taking me around and stuff, and then after that, I was gonna have to buy me a new car.
How tall are you?
Oh, me?
Yeah,
I'm 5'5".
Buy a Miata, because if anything breaks on a Miata, you can get a replacement like super quick. Like my car, I had to buy like a special thing to lower the seat, but like if my engine goes out, it's like $4,000 for a brand new engine. I can order it straight from Mazda. So it's like yeah, like anything that breaks on it, like my rims, if I for some reason crushed one of my rims, which the dealership claimed were like a $5,000 set of rims. Oh, guess what? People love Miata, so they make a ton of rims for them. They're like $200. So yeah, dude, like something like that, not necessarily just a Miata, but if you get something that's like cheap and like has an enthusiast group, like just repair it at that point. Super easy. Anyway,
good point. Yeah, I don't mind like trying to debug like car issues. Like if it won't start, I can usually go, okay, it's this or this. I'm not handy enough to fix it, but I can at least get down to the answer. But I do get car issues and plumbing, like two things that'll just set me like into like rage mode pretty quick though. Because it's like if I can't unclog a pipe or something, and I have to call somebody, it's just an expense. I shouldn't have to like pay as much as I do for, but somebody's got to do it, I guess.
Yeah, well, the good news is that it sounds like we'll have plenty of like plumbers, as that might be the only job that AI can't, completely dominate. That's like, what, Brian? What do you do? Well, I used to be a programmer, but now I fix toilets.
Them robots took our jobs.
Robots. Oh man. But at least they make really quality video games now. So it's like that's what the
I don't know about that either.
that's what everybody's betting on. That's the big play. Did y'all see because it's like we were talking about like Microsoft lowering prices. Satya Nadella came out and said like the layoffs were weighing kind of heavy on him. And my first thought was like, dude, you have hundreds of millions of dollars. Shut up. Don't talk about like, yeah, man, I had to lay off people. Just take a pay cut. Take a page.
Right.
Like as much as I both love and hate Nintendo, like this is a bad relationship between me and them, but they are clearly winning. I do respect the hell out of like, you know what? We didn't sell a lot of Wii U's. We're going to take a pay cut as the executives and keep the people who are actually making the sauce.
There was a report recently about like the average length of employment time for Nintendo employees is like 14 years. That's in American terms, that's unheard of. Like there are very few companies that do that.
Means they haven't hired anyone in a long time.
Really old.
Like right now, while Sony and Microsoft are laying off people, Nintendo's still hiring people, like opening up divisions and all kinds of other stuff. I'm like, they doing something right, despite everybody getting upset with it.
They have no debt as well, so it's like you can weather storms when you're not having to pay debt, and that's actually one of the things that I think has been kind of one of the causes of this video game reset, this decline, and in a way, kind of just a whole kind of reboot in terms of like how the business model works. Is that when we saw all these interest rates go up, all of a sudden the funding model for game development didn't make sense because when there was really low interest rate, companies weren't spending their capital. They were borrowing on their capital, and then they were making the game, and then they were able to double dip. Basically, they could take their capital, invest it in the market rate, so you were still getting your 10, 12, 14% returns on that, and then you were only paying 2-3%. And so they were able to basically kind of win both ways. But then all of a sudden, when that percentage jumped up to 7%, it's like, oh man, the risk is too great. 7% to 300 million. That like, oh no, like maybe this isn't going to work out well.
Yeah, not only that, man, the lockdowns that played a huge role in the industries because everybody was locked in and they saw this huge surge, when it came to when it came to live service, when it came to like Netflix streaming and everything, like these companies and from different industries saw this and they thought that, hey, this is like going to be the new trend, and they started just double investing in everything. Didn't think that they believed that we was going to be in lockdown for the next 5 to 10 years. They thought this was going to last for a long time. And no, it ended faster than they thought. And our gaming habits went right back to normal. And now they just stuck.
All those like really good financial reports for like the entertainment industry. And then now they're like, oh, we're actually struggling. It's like, well, we had to go back to work, or things got expensive because I'm now paying for gas again,
Yeah, we got $1,200 and y'all all said, oh, we're going to raise our prices 10% forever.
Right.
And now we don't get that $1,200 anymore. So,
like, what do you expect?
See, I tell you though, like as somebody with multiple kids, that was I liked it a lot because it was more than $1,200 for this family, and I was like, oh wow, like I could see how like a UBI could actually be a system that works, but then it works for some and doesn't work for everybody, and that's the way the human nature is. Man,
problem with that for now, like the UBI, the problem with the UBI for now, let's say they gave everyone $1,000 a month.
Yeah,
every landlord in the country is going to raise their rent by $1,000 a month.
Oh,
100%. The only difference though is that that 1,000 follows you around. Like if it was like, because then you could go like, hey, I'm going to go out to Montana with 6 of my friends that are all getting $1,000, and we're going to go live in a mansion that costs us $1,000, $1,500 a month, and win at life. Like you don't actually then aren't married to like a location. So if you saw like surging in that kind of prices, it actually gives the user some level of mobility. Now I'm
Well,
not
you wouldn't
fully
be
on
able
board.
to,
Why
because
not?
the landlord would raise the price of the rent by $1,000 per tenant
Right.
every
So you
month.
just move.
Right. And then you move, and then the place you go to next is like, oh, you got UBI, you can afford an extra $1,000.
You think though that you would transition more into kind of a mortgage at that point though, because then you could lock in your rate. You are then the landlord.
Why would I sell you my house for $400,000 when you're getting extra $1,000 a month? It's $800,000 now.
All right, we'll see.
I see the worst in humanity, Brian.
I see the best. I see the best in humanity. Everybody will be getting along. No, I think there's obviously some real key problems with any kind of system. I don't think there's any kind of perfect system. We use Julie and I determined was our Biden bucks, and we invested in the backyard because like Julie's mom has MS and my mom's had 2 heart attacks, and so for lockdown, it was video games and find a way to spend time with the kids and do stuff. So we invested so our backyard is like filled with like jungle gyms and things like that we used. That extra money was coming in. Did y'all see like just on the lockdowns, because this is just where my brain was going. There was a skit on SNL that really just cracked me up, and the concept of the skit was the lockdowns are kind of over, and so people are like, well, okay, and it's like, hey, you remember all the things that during lockdown you thought you were going to start doing, and so you ordered this new hobby and this thing. Well, we've got a service to come pick up all that stuff for you because you haven't touched it at all. You just said on your phone streaming Netflix or whatnot. And then it ends with like, and this applies except for the fact that you had kids, because that was you did not have this luxury experience because you were still having to be a parent and trying to entertain children throughout. But anyway, that was a fun aside. I do want to kind of take a little bit of a transition from what we were talking about with game prices, because y'all were asking like, with GTA being, let's say, assumed $100, and how some people, especially really like games, use microtransactions as a way kind of thanking the devs. But there's a weird kind of juxtaposition, and we're seeing this with No Rest for the Wicked. No Rest for the Wicked, they announced like they're going to just make a game, sell you the game. They're not going to make a sequel. They're going to make expansions to the game. So if you want to continue to play on that, like you can buy the expansion. I think that is a really a fair business model, but no microtransactions. And they say they've actually gotten to a point because people are enjoying the game already in early access. And they're asking, how can we also find ways to support this game? And he's like, it's such a weird position, because if you come in with like microtransactions as a part of your business model, you lose out. Like and then if you don't have it,
people away.
It does turn people away. But then if you don't have it, then people are like, well, how can I support you? And he's like, just play the game. Just tell people about the game. Like that's going to be what it is. And what do you guys think about that? Like how should gamers best thank the developers if they are finding that they really enjoy a specific game?
I think if you bought it, like that's a big step. If it's a multiplayer or like a service, like any kind of online game, I think playtime is the second best thing you could do, because those concurrent like player counts and player hours play big into marketing and funding for a lot of funding cycles for like the next pitch,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that plays a lot. If there's no other financial way to contribute, also gift copies, if that's something you want to do, buying an extra copy for a friend, so then you now have another person playing the game, like that helps.
Yeah.
An indie dev. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
If they're an indie dev, if they have a Patreon, you could support them on that if you want, as well as telling your friends and like Chrono said, gifting copies. That's good.
Yeah, man. I'm old fashioned. I'm old school. Just buy the game and like I said, word of mouth, spread the word. And as I said before, like me, when it comes to microtransactions, I'm not really a microtransactions like type of gamer. It's rare that I use a microtransaction. If there's a costume that I really, really want, I'll like, okay, I'll $3 or $5 here or whatever like that. But it's very, very rare. But we do live in a social media era, and the best way to support developers is not only just buying the game, and make content about it. Talk about why you like the game. Give tips, give guides to show how interesting the game is. Because I bought a lot of games on the strength of a lot of content creators who constantly kept making content about a particular game. I said, man, this does look interesting. Like I said before, it was Brian that really got me to go really dive into Final Fantasy 14 because I ran into his channel. I said, man, this guy's really passionate about it. He talks about it. I love the content that he makes. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go right back into 14 and really put some time into it and stuff. So I think that is the best way to support developers without trying to put so much money into the microtransactions, or if developers are not going to use microtransactions, I think us as gamers, man, just put the news out there, show why this game is awesome, you know?
The thing that I'm interested in, because what No Rest is doing is they've got crossplay, cross save, cross prog. Like, it's you have your game, your character, and no matter what device you're playing on, you have access. The thing though is that, and I've seen some people get frustrated by this, and the frustration I've seen, I just don't understand, because people were like, oh, I bought your game on Steam, why can't I play it on Xbox or on PlayStation or etc.? And it's like, well, you would have to buy a copy of the game on that. And that's another way that honestly, I think that's a pretty strong and smart approach. Like, hey, yeah, I like your game. I also want to play on my Switch too. I'll buy the copy of that. And the nice thing is that my character is right there. So I'm not like grinding out two different kind of setups. And that's the thing that, like, I've stated multiple times, especially if I really like a game. It's like, I'll buy multiple copies if my saves are wherever, right?
Exactly.
Like 14.
Yeah, exactly. 14. Well, and 14 was kind of the real thing that drew that value. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, I have it on PlayStation. I have it on PC, and then they brought it on Xbox, and everything's all connected, and you don't have to jump through any hoops. With Destiny, you kind of did have to jump through some hoops, but eventually, when they figured their stuff out, like, it's just like, yeah, I'll buy that game. I'll buy it here, and that you end up getting. I think that I don't think everybody's doing what I do, but I think you do run the benefit of actually grabbing in additional sales without having to worry about various different microtransactions. I think GTA though had the biggest microtransaction because I believe it was the #1 selling game overall, because you did get some of that currency when you did buy the game, and so people would just buy multiple copies of GTA 5.
Was it
which
cheaper?
I think probably in the long run there'd have to be some value if you were going buying the full version of the game over and over again. That's just wild. I think it's gonna be neat to see, because the other thing about that, and thanks Mugen, that was just such nice words. We should have you on the podcast every week. One thing that it was I actually had a really viral tweet, and viral for me, I think it was around 200,000 impressions, is that the developer Thomas kind of was talking on Discord. I made a video about it, and one of the highlights was like, hey, they're looking at the market conditions in terms of will they, or most likely what I kind of read it as is that Microsoft is really going with Xbox OS as its own PC. Do they really even need to make a console port at this point? So they're in talks with Microsoft, trying to figure out what they want. And obviously then we stepped into a world of console wars with that tweet and that impression. And I even I think it was Mark who in our little podcast chat room was saying that, like, even Last Stand Media's Nintendo podcast made reference, and I got a shout out on that, which was really cool to hear. But what did you guys think about that? Like, here is No Rest for the Wicked, the developers behind the acclaimed Ori series that did sell incredibly well, looking at releasing their game on console with the goal, and he stated this multiple times, they will be on Xbox. They're going to be everywhere, but they're a smaller studio, and they have to consider, especially because they're self-publishing now. What do you guys take about the state of that kind of comment? Is it something frustrating, something to be expected? Is it something that they just need to bite the bullet and release everywhere? Where do y'all fall?
I think as a business, you have a responsibility to your employees and your shareholders, or whatever, to yourself even, to do the smart thing. And if to them releasing on Xbox is not a smart thing, then like right away, I mean, then don't do it. Do the thing that makes the most sense. And if at the moment releasing on Xbox doesn't make sense, then don't do it. Don't feel bad. Square Enix, same thing. It didn't make sense, so they didn't do it for a long time until it finally made sense, and then they're like, okay, we can do it now for 14 specifically, right? No shade on Xbox fans. I know you guys love your consoles, but sometimes it's not about that. It's just about what makes sense monetarily. And if you want more people to play Xbox, I guess you need to be even more rabid about the kind of games that they make and the kind of games that they fund. And you need to, maybe suggest non-violently, of course, types of things you would like to see, such as the console seller Stellar Blade. Just kidding.
Now, Chrono, you're a big believer in bullying. Is this something that you think the console wars are accomplishing?
I think bullying the big faceless corporations is okay. Indie studios, they're doing their best. They're under a lot of pressure, but those guys tend to be more transparent. I think the transparency that Thomas has put out in that Discord is to be commended. If only every developer could be that open about things, and they could. I think it's just a choice. But I think realistically, without the funding that Microsoft had for Ori, like that made sense to obviously release it on Xbox, PC, and eventually I believe it came to the Switch as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, even then, if it had sold that great on Xbox, I don't think we would have seen it on the Switch. It was a great game, great selling game, but they looked at that Switch version and went, hey, it could hit more people. It could sell really well. The Switch has a huge install base. So I think if we look at that situation, just take Microsoft out. It's like, well, Moon has to make the best choice to get the game in the most players' hands possible up front. And if they see, through analysis and everything, just being logical about it, Xbox just ain't there this generation.
Xbox could be there. That's the point that I've long made. They have a check. They spend $69 billion on Activision Blizzard. They can maybe bring back some of the people they laid off and said, hey, we'll handle the port to Xbox for you. Like,
that's what they were doing. It's what they tried that approach with Windows Phone. They tried it with Windows 8, to get people to make apps for their store. And it's like Microsoft throwing money at the wall sometimes works, but those are two examples where it clearly didn't. And that was kind of my point, is they can't just throw the bag at everybody. But I think they have a relationship with Moon. They have a history with Moon. I think they could have worked out a Game Pass deal or something to help bolster Game Pass a little bit. And then Moon could have justified the port right out of the bat. Now, if those conversations maybe have happened or haven't, I don't know.
They're probably ongoing because they're still at least a year away from releasing the game anyway. So it's like,
so then there you go. Like that could still happen and they could reverse course and go, okay, look, here's what's changed. Or maybe they can't. Maybe there's an NDA, but we would see kind of the writing on the wall with it. But I'm not as an Xbox kind of first player. It doesn't bother me that there's a reason they skipped. Whereas with like Final Fantasy 16 launching PlayStation exclusive, it's just PlayStation paid for it. But the reasoning was, PlayStation offered up the cash. It's like Microsoft. You couldn't offer up the cash for Square to put their game on your platform day one. Like, telling me you couldn't?
It's not putting it on the platform. It's keeping it off other platforms that I find frustrating. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't want Microsoft to come in and money had it and PlayStation doesn't get the
that's
game,
what
right?
they did with Call of Duty for years on 360 with the DLC. It launched a few weeks or a month first on Xbox. And that irritated PlayStation fans because it's not like you could play together.
Right.
It was totally separate back then. It was literally just buy it on 360 so you get it first.
Yeah. And then PlayStation 4 took over that contract and they would lock out content for over a year. So the game would launch and then it's like this mode or whatever will, by the time the next annual release of Call of Duty comes out. Absolutely.
That exact marketing is why I skipped Destiny 1 entirely, because the Xbox version was supposed to get DLC later. And then by the time that was supposed to come out, they're like, nah, we're not doing that. We're just going to put Destiny 2 out. Xbox fans don't actually get the content that they pre-ordered. So it was just like, what the heck?
Wow.
But hey, it's another case to not pre-order anything ever.
Yeah. Never pre-order. It's like, there's no scarcity. Now I will go against my own mantra. I will be pre-ordering Final Fantasy Tactics because why not? I'm going to buy that. It's like
I had my Switch 2 pre-ordered. I had Donkey Kong. I've got Pokemon Legends ZA.
Did you go with a physical media?
Yeah.
Nintendo physical media I can understand.
I don't know why, but Nintendo I lean more towards the physical media side. because of how
Well,
they
their games
handled
hold value too, because
that too.
we talked about like people will be like the game prices are too high. Well, they come down unless you're Nintendo. Like it's like
Yeah.
$80. It's not $80. Wait a month. It will be 40. I get like it does, like all you're doing is paying a hype tax. And that's the price increase. And it's like, Outer Wild Worlds 2. Yeah. Now it's $70. No, it's not. For game it's on me and for Game Pass. But if I really wanted to buy that game, I'll buy it when it's $30 or $40. Like it's easy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I think especially it's easy because now in this time in history, I have so many fun and awesome entertainment options. If we just focus in on video games, I have a collection of video games that I love to play, that I own, that are apparently masterpieces, and I haven't yet played or finished, etc. So it's like if you're coming out with a game, it's like, yeah, that looks great. I have the ability to be like, okay, well, I'll pick that up later, and if it's really good, people will still be talking about it by the time I get around to playing it. And most of the time, you realize the industry has been driven off of this sense of just this hype and overexcitement, and then all of a sudden it's like you wait 2-3 months and you're like, oh, that game, really wasn't. It really wasn't what the Raiders said it was. Like I do think that that hype does play just a huge element in this industry, and when you
hype, nostalgia, and timing, like you get those three right, you could sell anything.
Lightning in a bottle, baby. The Moon Studios thing, I think is going to be interesting to see because, like, I really like the game and the devs. I love the transparency, especially because like I've been covering it, and it's been it's kind of neat to be like, hey, this is what we're talking about, and how even like Jez Corden, which if you guys don't know, he said that he'll be on this podcast next week with us, so that's going to be kind of a fun thing we can kind of talk about from his perspective. But when it's all said and done, it's like I think is going to be a piece of it that does hurt them overall, not being able to launch everywhere because you're going to miss out on that big hype window. So even though Xbox isn't the biggest, selling console around, it still accounts for 30 million consoles in existence. That's a sale that I would have made. I would have bought the game on Xbox. I'm going to get it on Switch too. And I can understand, I could see how Switch 2 could be kind of delayed and still have that level of success. But being that if it was just PlayStation 5, they will get the console warriors kicked up. So there's free marketing that they're going to get there for sure.
And there's that side of it.
But with Final Fantasy 16, with like all of these examples where it does not launch everywhere at the same time, after you kind of miss that hype window, there isn't like this second wave of hype.
Yeah,
like
it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because if you do launch everywhere, everyone's going to buy it. But if you don't, everyone's going to find a way to buy it on something at launch. Those that really want to play it are even kind of interested, But then, we saw it with Final Fantasy 16. It's doing well on Xbox, but it could have done better overall. We're going to come back to it every time sales come up and exclusivity, because it's a really good example.
Well, I just bought 16 for like $30 on Steam.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Have you played it yet?
I played like the first up until like the Garuda fight.
Nice.
Because I've only been playing while with my my lady friend, like watching. So we've only done that like maybe 3 times. So
I like how you say lady friend, because when I was in high school, like my mom had struggled with the transition from friend to like, oh, this is a girlfriend. And so when my high school girlfriend and I were like doing out with my parents, and my mom introduced her as Brian's special friend.
Oh, bless her heart.
I was like, oh, bless her heart. Yeah, that's a real. You hear that from a Southerner, and you're like, oh,
it's on.
It's on, baby. I just thought that was funny. So good luck with your female friend, and hopefully she's enjoying the Final Fantasy 16 playthrough. The problem with 16 and me is that like I really like the game. I like the story. I like the combat. I do want to see Final Fantasy return to kind of a turn-based, and I've been talking with Sebi Webbs, and we're going to hopefully get him on the podcast as well, because like we can dive even deeper in that conversation. But when it's said and done, I enjoyed as an adult the mature theme and the tone. But I have it on Xbox Play Anywhere, right? If I was going to sit down and play that game, The kids can't be around. It's not the violence. I'll play Gears of War in front of them because
No,
Gears
the
of War.
language though.
Well, you can turn it off in Gears of War. You can go
Yeah.
into Gears of War and say, you know what? I don't want the profanity. I don't even like. You can turn off the gore, and
Which
it's like,
actually makes the game funnier than it needs to
Oh,
be. So I
absolutely.
say it's worth doing just because it's comical.
I took my daughter to see Smurfs, and they have sound effects Smurf or whatever. And at the end of the movie, they're like, "What the?" And then you hear the beep, and they're like, "I didn't say anything. I said Smurf. Why are you beeping me out? Like, what's up?" It's just like, oh yeah, but you're right. It's absolutely funny. I honestly think like that kind of censorship can be really, really funny if used appropriately. I think there was it like Jimmy Kimmel or whatever? He like an unnecessary censorship where he would just go and like bleep out things that government officials were saying, and it just made it sound so funny because your brain automatically starts filling that in. Oh man. Anyway, that's a fun aside on that regards. You guys want to talk about the rumored PlayStation 6 news?
Oh yeah. We can talk about that.
I mean, we knew something, right? Like we knew just all the PS5 talk and everything else. The PS5 Pro, sorry.
I mean, I don't know why people are surprised that they're talking about the PS6. I mean, when it comes to console generations, I remember a long time ago growing up, consoles, their lifespan was normally be like maybe like 4 and maximum 5 years. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until like the PS3, once we got hit with the housing crash and everything like that, the PS3 and the 360 lasted what 12, maybe 13 years or something like that.
Long time.
Well,
I think they announced the next generation launch around 8 years, but it's still like the previous generation continued to hold strong.
Yeah, and so that's why when they announced the PlayStation 6 may be a thing, I'm like, okay, it's about that time. We like the PS5 been around for like 5 years now or whatever. So I mean, this is like this. I mean, I'm not a fan of this generation. It feels like this generation was just nothing but filler of an anime, and it was filled with nothing but remasters and remakes. And
after loading times, though.
Yeah, I guess I got
almost as fast as PC.
Yeah. So and then when you think about it, it was also hard. It was also hard to get a PS5 at the beginning because we had
I was like, it's been around for 5 years, but I didn't see one in the wild and for like 2 years.
Yeah, so people are just now getting their PS5, and now they're already announcing the PS6. So people are getting like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like already, I feel like I just got this console.
I think that's the biggest thing is people are just unaware of how long everything's been out because we were all locked up. We were all just at home playing what we had,
and you couldn't get one. So yeah. Like,
I still find it weird when I see a PlayStation on the shelf,
dude, like,
or any console. Except the Switch. The Switch you find everywhere. Like that's fine, but a Switch 2 I have yet to see on a shelf.
Oh, really? Some places I see. I think around where I live, I started seeing some being placed back on the shelf. But
oh man, don't leak that. The scalpels.
I still haven't even opened my Switch 2 yet. It's sitting in front of me. It's still sitting in front of me right now. Still in the box. I haven't opened it yet. I had it since launch.
You just made like 30,000 little kids angry.
Why would 30,000 kids be angry at all? They don't have jobs.
He's got the thing that I want, and he doesn't even like it.
My dad won't buy me a Switch 2. That sounds like a good dad.
Yeah. Doesn't tell my kids like, this is my Switch 2, and if I want you to play on it, I will let you. But
I literally have no other profile but mine, and they're like, "Dad, can you put my Nintendo?" It's like, no, y'all don't touch this. This is Dad's Switch 2. When I want it, when I want to sit down and play, which is very like I do like playing games, but like anybody who's a parent knows, like. There's windows where you're like, I just can't game. And I'm like, when that window shows up where it's like, wait, I got 30 minutes and nothing to do. All right, let me boot this up. I hate when I run into the situation where it's like, and it's not charged. And it's like, well, or the thing that
10 gig update.
Yeah, and that's how I was like, oh man, I really want to play some Horizon, Forza Horizon 5. And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit down and play it. And it's like, I had 30 minutes and I was like, no, it took a 20-minute update. And I was like, by that point, I was like, all right, fine.
Yeah. Growing up, we like in my household, we never really shared consoles because my dad, he bought us our own individual console. We had our own individual TV setups and stuff like that. My dad was a gamer. You know, I grew up playing games and stuff. Like my very first game was The Legend of Zelda on the NES, and my very first console that my parents bought specifically for me was the Sega Genesis and everything. And my dad always had the latest console. Then that following year, my dad will buy me that console while he gets the next console, so forth and so on. So I never really had to worry about fighting over for a console and stuff. My dad didn't have to worry about sharing it with the family. He had his own game room with his own TV setup with all his consoles and stuff. And I was the oldest, so I followed right after my dad. So my dad, you know, he would get my consoles and stuff. It wasn't until like my little brothers and them, they were still into playing with toys like Power Rangers, stuff like that. It wasn't until like later on where my brothers and them started getting consoles and stuff, and I would just hand me downs to my baby brother, to, you know, like the SNES and stuff like that. But yeah, never had to worry about that. We all had our own consoles.
The Switch and its models with Switch and Switch 2 makes that very tempting as a parent because you have the handheld mode. And I still would just absolutely love it if Nintendo released a Switch console that had, like, it was no screen, it didn't undock. You can just put it up there. It's got, you know, it lives up there because it's like, that's really like, especially because like I showed you guys, I still have to, I call Nintendo support and we've got the ticket, but it's like, yeah, somehow one of the kids decided to use the Joy-Con and it's gone. And it's like, I don't want y'all touching this stuff at all. This ain't cheap. Because
like when the Switch came out, my daughter wanted to Switch, and I waited on that for a minute until the Switch Lite, and that's when I bought her the Lite. So she had the Lite, and I have my base Nintendo Switch. Yeah, so
the Lite is a real value add for me because it's like I told my kids when they turn 10, I'd get them. You know, they can pick out their own Switch Lite in that regards, and we'll keep that going. And if they want to save up the money, maybe I'll let them upgrade it. But I'm hoping that there will be a Switch 2 Lite by the time, because Annie, her birthday's tomorrow, my birthday's on Sunday, so it's like we have kind of like we're kicking off what we call mid-Christmas with the family, as my niece determined it, because it's just like 2 to 3 weeks of just nothing but birthdays and anniversaries, pretty much for 90% of my entire family. So it gets pretty wild. But yeah, so when she turns 10, I was like, yeah, I'll get her Switch Lite, no problem, and it will be a Switch Lite unless I'm hoping that there's a Switch 2 Lite, and then maybe she can save up, because the nice thing about the Switch Lite is like it's just $200, and that's like I feel like that's a really good 10-year-old birthday kind of budget, you know, present, you know, etc. But $450, like I love you, but I'm sorry. It's like that is too much. Well, I would wonder if they would, like, if it would end up coming in at maybe like 300 or something like that for the Switch 2 Lite. We'll see what happens.
But yeah,
we were talking back to PlayStation.
What I think is going to be really interesting is with the last gen, PS5, the current gen, I guess we should say, it was a big focus on specs and like detailed specs that most people aren't really going to care about. They'll see those numbers and go, oh, bigger number, better. Except the branding also has to be like what they're already committed to, because like at launch, the Series X had the bigger numbers. And PlayStation just was like, no, but we're PlayStation and you're still Xbox after the Xbox One. Nobody wants to buy this. Everybody's confused about what you're doing. And so I think that's going to be a big play. Like, obviously the PS6 is going to sell. It's going to be good. I'm just curious what those specs actually end up being, you know, because I don't know what really is on offer from a power perspective, except more RAM, you know, better GPU, better CPU, but I don't think there's any specific technology that's going to really feel like a leap forward.
It's gonna be neat because I have a 4090 now, and then part of the rumor is that it's going to be equivalent of that, and it's like, okay,
which is great. I mean, that's awesome.
Meaning, it's like, what first party games have y'all held off on while you did remaster? Like, it does feel like the PS5 has been a generation filled with remaster. You know, for versions. And honestly, that's where Xbox coming to PlayStation seems to be the biggest win for Microsoft, because like, hey, new games that if you've only been a PlayStation player, have never had access to.
Right.
And I'm really curious to see how Gears of War sells and how Helldivers 2 sell on Xbox. I'm like generally like that's
going to be wild to compare.
It is. It's going to be so interesting to compare because obviously, and it's going to be neat to see how the console warriors unpack it. I view them very entertaining.
It's very entertaining. Very entertaining. My biggest question though with the PS6 and just the next Xbox, my wonder is if these next consoles going to be completely digital, or if it's still going to have like a physical component to it, or the base or the original like first console which is going to be digital, but you can get the disc separate that you have to buy separately, because now we are heading to this all digital era, and I'm thinking that we're going to get closer and closer to them trying to remove physical media in general. So I'm wondering, will the PS6 and the next Xbox just be a strictly digital, or the physical disc drive is just an afterthought or add-on that you just can buy separately? So that's why I'm wondering what's that about. If that's going to happen or not.
I feel like we have one more generation of physical discs for consoles. I would like to see, and it may sound dumb, and it's okay, I can own it, but I'd like to see if we get rid of discs, could we at least go to selling cards like Switch does? Because you get solid state style performance, you get really quick load times and everything as long as the hardware is there, but you still have like some kind of physical like thing you can buy. Now I'm not saying like the game key cards, because I know people don't like those, those are dumb, but if we could still have some kind of physical media that isn't a disc. Discs are really cheap to produce though, but I just we see fewer and fewer movies being pressed on Blu-rays. At a certain point, we're going to see Blu-ray production just stop because it's not going to be worth the shipping costs or the shelf space, or all these things that retailers are just going to quit. That's going to go away first, I think, before physical games. But I think we have one more generation, and then that's going to be it. And it'll probably be like you said, it'll launch. They'll emphasize those digital systems first, and either do some kind of disc add-on or release like a Pro, like the PS6 Pro will have the disc drive, as opposed to the opposite, which happened this time. I think they would put the value with that. Like, oh, if you want the best, you gotta pay more.
Yeah. I do not think that even if they did a Pro version that you would see disc drive. I think it's going to be completely optional. And like, I think it will be an add-on. I've described it as like they're going to have a tax on. So if you're a physical media gamer, you're going to pay a premium for both any kind of device that hooks up, and then obviously going and tracking down, the discs or whatnot. Yeah. I don't see a scenario which the next Xbox and the next PlayStation launch natively with the disc drive. Like it just says, hey, you want an add-on? There you go. Everything's digital. That's what I see with this next generation.
Unless they come up with a new disc, it's like that will contain the entire game on the disc.
I just think they have zero incentive to even research that at this point.
Yeah, they really don't.
So I think that's why we haven't seen like what's after like 4K Blu-ray in terms of storage, which is I think just a dual layer Blu-ray. So it's not even like a different format, or not that different. I guess you can't play a 4K disc on an older Bluray player.
Yeah, I think have a reason to when we can make micro SD cards that have 3 terabytes on them. Like,
right, and that's kind of why I was saying like I'd like to see at least some kind of SD card cartridge, something kind of like the Switch does, because I think that would be a happy medium for physical ownership.
Well, especially if we end up seeing hybrid consoles, like if we already seen that with the ROG Ally Xbox, etc. It's like, hey, it's an Xbox, it's also a handheld, and then many different form factors. I do think that because I asked in this, I think in the last show or something like that. I know there's a clip of us talking about it, but it's like, what sells me a PS6, right? Obviously, the go-to answer would be some exclusive that I can only get there, but the exclusives that I always got my PlayStation for were Final Fantasy, and now it looks like Square Enix and over itself is like, no, we see the value in putting games on in everywhere. But then it's like, okay, I think it's got to be price. Like I think everything when it comes down to what this next generation is going to be about, what would make me excited to go out and get a PS6? What would make me excited? Is this a budget friendly kind of thing? And we saw the price crawl back, and I don't know if it's going to be permanent, but it would be really neat to see if it does. It's that if gamers are just like the market does not support the prices that people are asking, the prices will come down because if you're not selling your system, you know, like that's not why you spent hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, on making it in the first place. So I'm for me, when I start to think about it, the answer has got to be price. Like, do we get to a point where we can see maybe even $70 games are like, yeah, we're not launching this at 70, we're coming in at 60, and then all of a sudden people start getting really excited to like go out and buy your game because it's interesting. But I never believed, but until this generation, when we saw the prices go up from 70 to 60 to 70, people didn't feel like the value of the product that they were getting actually increased to justify the cost. And I think it's because we've kind of hit this upper limit. Okay, great. It looks a little bit better. It loads a little bit faster. This is a nice thing. I'm enjoying that, but it doesn't seem to cover the gap and difference in price, etc. So that's just how I feel. What do y'all think before we wrap up?
Oh, yeah, man. I think, like I said before, like wherever this next generation is going to be, and like you said, that's a good point. Price, as you talked about, what the price is going to be, especially with the PlayStation 6. Like when it comes to exclusives, I mean, Nintendo is where it's at for me when it comes to exclusives. I love Nintendo and their exclusives and stuff like that. But when it comes to like right now with Microsoft, when they were actually awesome and stuff, and when PlayStation really was hitting hard with the exclusive, at this point, I'm saying, why not just upgrade my PC? And especially if these consoles are going to be more and more like PCs, especially if you want to start seeing more Xbox and Sony exclusives go over
on
to
PC.
Yeah, might as well just get. I might just skip this generation and just go straight PC. At this
I'm a
point.
PC. I'm a PC Switch guy. Yeah,
it's like, have my Nintendo console. Yeah,
there you go.
And that's the easiest thing to do. I think it's just a little patience and hey, you got extra scratch to upgrade the PC, might as well.
Yep.
Yeah, might as well. That's what I think. Scrag, what are you playing, man?
What am I playing this week? I have played exactly like 45 minutes of Final Fantasy 14, and that was just now. So other than that, still playing a little bit of Magic, but not much video games this week.
What about you, Chrono?
I've been enjoying DK Bonanza.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good game. I played a little on stream, and then I've been putting time into Pokemon Unite. It's their 4th anniversary, so a lot of events and stuff going on there. And plus, the game's just in a good spot. It's really fun. I mean, matchmaking's still broken, but the community is really like excited about the game again, so it's fun to be involved with that side of it.
What about you, Mugen?
As far as games are concerned, well, I definitely have to get back to finishing Stellar Blade on the PS5. I didn't get Donkey Kong Bonanza because I was like, look, I'm gonna waste this money because I haven't opened the Switch 2 yet. So I was like, I'd rather wait until I'm ready to open the Switch 2 and then go out and buy it than to buy it and just sit it next to my Nintendo Switch 2 that I haven't opened yet. And I was thinking about this weekend to buy Triangle Strategy on my MetaQuest 3 because I want to play it.
Triangle Strategy is so fun.
Triangle Strategy on a VR?
Yeah. Square Enix. It blew my mind. It was like months ago when they made the announcement. They released it during the Christmas holiday of 2024. I just haven't gotten around to buy it. So yeah, I was thinking about getting that over the weekend and everything. But other than that, I'm just working on the stories for Chapter 2 for my comic book series. That's about it.
Heck yeah, dude. And congrats. I've been seeing you share out some posts from people who've been buying your comics and reading. Yeah, absolute, dude. Freaking amazing. I'm so happy for you. Awesome. As far as me, I'm kind of in the same 3 that I was last week. Bonanza, Final Fantasy 11, and No Rest for the Wicked. 1 second. But I did get invited to a game that I'm not allowed to talk about right now. And I think that's going to be exciting for sometime later in August or September. Just kind of putting that out there for anybody who's been a longtime fan of this specific channel. I'm sure you can deduce what I'm inferring. But outside of that, guys, I think it's going to be a fun couple of weeks, if nothing else. But we'll be back this time next week. Like we said, we got Jez Corden coming on the show. Thanks to Mugen, thanks to Chrono and Scrag for being here for this roundtable, and hopefully you guys all enjoyed, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the next podcast. But until then, take care.
Peace.